Hello, our Lives channel. Today we will learn about an explosive new storyline developing in Salem that could change everything for several beloved characters. The story centers around substitute teacher Jeremy Horton, portrayed by the talented Michael Rourke, who may find himself thrust into a heroic role when Rachel Black spirals out of control and commits a dangerous act that threatens Thomas DiMera's life. Jeremy Horton returns to Salem with a fresh start. Michael Rourke made his highly anticipated debut as Jeremy Horton in the October 3rd episode, giving Days of Our Lives fans a significant update on this legacy character's life journey. The transformation in Jeremy's life has been nothing short of remarkable. He has completely turned his life around from his troubled past, and is now a fully certified teacher who has landed a promising long-term substitute teaching position. This career achievement represents a dramatic departure from the dark, troubled path he once walked, showing genuine growth and redemption for the character. What makes this development particularly significant is that Jeremy has been assigned to teach the exact class that both Thomas DiMera and Rachel Black attend. This seemingly coincidental placement is anything but random in the world of soap opera storytelling. The writers have clearly positioned Jeremy in this specific role for a crucial reason that will soon become apparent as dramatic events unfold in the classroom. His presence in these children's lives will prove to be far more important than anyone could have initially anticipated. The storyline cleverly explains away the previous teacher through a pregnancy plot device. The student's former instructor, Ms. Brody, has been written off to maternity leave due to her pregnancy, which conveniently opens the door for Jeremy to step into this long-term substitute role. While some fans initially speculated that the pregnant teacher herself might face danger, it appears that her pregnancy serves primarily as a narrative tool to introduce Jeremy into this critical teaching position at precisely the right moment. Rachel Black's psychological crisis intensifies. Rachel Black is currently navigating an incredibly turbulent and traumatic period in her young life, dealing with multiple devastating situations that would challenge even the most resilient adult. The weight of her mother Kristen DiMera being imprisoned once again has left Rachel feeling abandoned and emotionally vulnerable. However, the most psychologically damaging element of Rachel's current state involves a deeply buried secret that her mind has locked away as a protective mechanism: the suppressed memory of shooting E.J. DiMera. This traumatic memory remains hidden in the recesses of Rachel's subconscious mind, creating an emotional pressure cooker that threatens to explode at any moment. The shooting incident occurred when Rachel was desperately searching for answers about her grandmother's disappearance, and in a moment of fear and confusion, she pulled the trigger. Her young mind, unable to process the gravity of what she had done, immediately suppressed this memory as a psychological defense mechanism. Now, months later, this unprocessed trauma continues to fester beneath the surface, manifesting in increasingly problematic behaviors and emotional instability. Mental health experts would recognize Rachel's condition as a classic case of dissociative amnesia triggered by overwhelming psychological trauma. The combination of her mother's incarceration, the loss of her grandfather John Black, and the buried guilt over shooting E.J. has created a perfect storm of emotional distress. Rachel's inability to consciously remember the shooting doesn't mean the trauma has disappeared. Instead, it lurks in her subconscious, poisoning her emotional well-being and threatening to emerge in unpredictable and potentially dangerous ways. The memory portal may soon open. Days of Our Lives spoilers strongly suggest that Rachel's suppressed memories are on the verge of breaking through to her conscious awareness. The psychological term for this phenomenon is memory recovery, and it often occurs when the individual encounters triggers or stressors that mirror the original traumatic event. For Rachel, this breakthrough could happen at any moment, particularly if she finds herself in another dangerous or highly emotional situation that her subconscious mind associates with that fateful night when she shot E.J. The show's narrative has been carefully building toward this pivotal moment of revelation. Spoilers indicate that Rachel's psychological issues will soon explode with full force, triggering a dramatic rampage that leads to a life-threatening ordeal. This suggests that whatever event causes Rachel to finally remember shooting E.J. will be both traumatic and dangerous, potentially putting innocent people at risk. The writers appear to be crafting a scenario where Rachel's emotional breakdown will serve a dual purpose, forcing her to confront her buried guilt while simultaneously creating a crisis situation that requires immediate intervention. The timing of this memory breakthrough coinciding with Jeremy's presence in the classroom seems carefully orchestrated. As a teacher who has overcome his own troubled past, Jeremy may be uniquely positioned to recognize the warning signs of Rachel's deteriorating mental state. His personal history of making serious mistakes and finding redemption could give him the insight and empathy needed to help Rachel navigate the devastating realization of what she has done. Escalating tension between Rachel and Thomas. The relationship between Rachel and Thomas has deteriorated significantly in recent episodes, transforming from childhood friendship into something increasingly hostile and combative. The catalyst for this dramatic shift occurred when Rachel deliberately exposed the truth about Kat Green being Chad DiMera's new girlfriend and revealed her identity as Abigail DiMera's doppelganger. This revelation struck Thomas deeply, as he watched his father become romantically involved with a woman who looks exactly like his deceased mother, a situation that would be psychologically confusing and painful for any child. Thomas felt betrayed by Rachel's actions, viewing her revelation not as honesty but as a deliberate attempt to hurt him and his family. From his perspective, Rachel crossed a line by interfering in his father's personal life and exposing information that caused him emotional pain. The confrontation between the two children during the blackout, when they were playing Monopoly at the Horton house, perfectly illustrated their deteriorating relationship. Rachel's taunting comment that nobody kisses their friends like that, when discussing Chad and Kat, showed her willingness to weaponize sensitive information to hurt Thomas. This growing animosity between the two classmates creates a volatile situation within the school environment. Children who are dealing with unprocessed trauma and emotional turmoil often act out in ways that can escalate quickly from verbal arguments to physical confrontations. With Rachel's psychological state becoming increasingly unstable and Thomas dealing with his own family issues, their classroom interactions have become a powder keg waiting for the right spark to ignite a dangerous situation. A potential schoolyard crisis looms. The Days of Our Lives writing team has deliberately emphasized that both Rachel and Thomas attend the same class this year, the very class now under Jeremy Horton's supervision. This specific narrative choice signals that something significant will transpire within the school setting, likely involving both children and their new substitute teacher. The spoilers pointing to Rachel triggering a life-threatening ordeal strongly suggest that this dangerous situation will unfold in the classroom or school environment, where Jeremy can witness and respond to the crisis. One compelling scenario involves Rachel and Thomas getting into a heated confrontation at school that accidentally escalates into a life-threatening situation for Thomas. Given Rachel's deteriorating mental state and the buried trauma she carries, a seemingly ordinary argument could trigger an extreme reaction that puts Thomas in genuine danger. Perhaps Rachel's actions inadvertently create a hazardous situation, whether through physical aggression, reckless behavior, or an accident that occurs during their confrontation that threatens Thomas's safety or even his life. Jeremy's positioning as their teacher places him at ground zero for this impending crisis. Unlike previous situations where adults arrived after the fact, Jeremy will likely be present to witness the events unfold in real time. This gives him the opportunity to intervene decisively, potentially saving Thomas before the situation reaches a tragic conclusion. The spoilers specifically suggest that Jeremy will play a heroic role, which aligns perfectly with a scenario where he must act quickly and courageously to protect a student from imminent danger. Jeremy's heroic redemption arc. The character of Jeremy Horton carries significant baggage from his previous appearance in Salem, when his storyline involved criminal activities and emotionally abusive behavior towards Stephanie Johnson. Trevor Donovan originally portrayed Jeremy as a deeply flawed character whose lies and controlling nature created a toxic relationship dynamic. This dark history makes Jeremy's current redemption arc all the more meaningful and narratively satisfying for longtime viewers who remember his troubled past. Now positioned as a dedicated educator who has genuinely changed his life, Jeremy has the opportunity to balance out his horrific past mistakes with a genuinely heroic action. Saving Thomas from a life-threatening situation would serve as a powerful symbol of Jeremy's transformation and personal growth. It would demonstrate that people can fundamentally change, learn from their mistakes, and become forces for good in the world. This redemption narrative carries particular weight because Jeremy's heroism would involve protecting a vulnerable child, an act that requires selflessness, quick thinking, and genuine courage. The timing of this heroic moment could also help ease Jeremy's reintegration into Salem society and particularly into Stephanie's life. His return inevitably brings up painful memories for Stephanie of their toxic relationship, but witnessing Jeremy risk himself to save a child would provide concrete evidence that he has truly become a different person. This could open the door for complex storylines exploring whether past wounds can heal and whether someone who caused harm can earn genuine forgiveness through changed behavior and selfless actions. Helping Rachel process her trauma. Beyond the immediate crisis of saving Thomas, Jeremy may also find himself in a unique position to help Rachel deal with the psychological aftermath of her actions. If Rachel's dangerous behavior triggers the return of her suppressed memories about shooting EJ, she will suddenly be confronted with the devastating reality of what she did in that moment of fear and confusion. The psychological impact of this revelation will be profound, potentially sending Rachel into an acute crisis that requires immediate support from a trusted adult. Jeremy's own experience with making terrible mistakes and carrying the weight of past actions could give him a valuable perspective when helping Rachel process her trauma and guilt. Unlike adults who have never struggled with serious wrongdoing, Jeremy understands from personal experience what it feels like to be haunted by your own choices and to wonder if redemption is even possible. This shared experience of having done things you deeply regret could allow Jeremy to connect with Rachel in a way that other adults cannot, offering her hope that she can eventually forgive herself and move forward. The therapeutic relationship between a reformed, troubled individual and a child dealing with trauma could provide days of our lives with rich emotional material for weeks to come. Jeremy could serve as a mentor figure for Rachel, helping her understand that one terrible action doesn't define who she is as a person. He could share his own journey of transformation, showing her that people can change, grow, and find redemption even after making devastating mistakes. This mentorship role would further cement Jeremy's rehabilitation as a character while providing Rachel with the support system she desperately needs to heal. A storyline woven together with purpose. The Days of Our Lives writers have masterfully positioned these three characters, Jeremy, Rachel, and Thomas, for a storyline that promises to deliver both high-stakes drama and meaningful character development. The fact that all three are connected through the classroom setting, combined with Rachel's deteriorating psychological state and Jeremy's redemptive arc, creates a narrative structure with multiple layers of dramatic possibility. Spoilers confirm that these three characters will be deeply involved in a storyline together, suggesting that the events that transpire will have lasting consequences for all involved. The show's focus on legacy characters and family connections adds additional depth to this developing storyline. Jeremy represents the Horton family legacy, one of the foundational families in Days of Our Lives history. Rachel carries the DiMera name and all the complicated history that entails. Thomas connects to both the DiMera family through his father Chad and the Devereaux family through his late mother Abigail. These family connections ensure that the fallout from whatever crisis occurs will ripple outward, affecting multiple families and creating opportunities for complex emotional storytelling. As viewers stay tuned for alarming news in the coming episodes, the stage is set for a dramatic confrontation that will test Jeremy's commitment to his new path, force Rachel to confront her buried trauma, and potentially put Thomas in genuine danger. The resolution of this storyline promises to be both heart-wrenching and ultimately hopeful, showing that even in the darkest moments, redemption, healing, and heroism remain possible. The Days of Our Lives continues to prove that the most compelling soap opera storytelling comes from placing flawed, complex characters in situations that challenge them to become better versions of themselves, while dealing with the very real consequences of past actions.